In saying that Darwin provides us with the first unified theory of evolutionary change, what I mean is that Darwin's theory of evolution fits the scientific standards we need to develop knowledge within a scientific context. Darwin, as I said, provides us with the first unified theory of evolution. By this I mean that he provides a scientific context in which we can begin to understand and develop evolutionary knowledge. His theory of evolution generates predictions that we can test through study of the natural world around us, as well as the fossil record left on the history of the planet. Evolutionary science is an interesting science and a challenging science in the sense that it's something that's difficult to test in a lab. Evolution, as Darwin suggested, is oftentimes a gradual process that proceeds across generations, long generations, thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, even millions of years, making it challenging to test hypotheses. However, because evolution is something that has occurred throughout the entire world, constantly throughout our evolutionary past, it's something that's provided a tremendous amount of natural experiments that give us observations that we can test and use to generate knowledge about how evolution works. Now, it's again important to think about the fact that in Darwin's own construction of the idea, he relied not just on his voyages in the Beagle, not just of his observations of creatures in their natural habitat, but extensively on studies of artificial selection, how actually generation after generation of English sheep or pigeons change across time. These studies in artificial selection helped provide Darwin with a fundamental mechanism of how things change over time, how variation can be selected for. Now, in Darwin's studies with farmers and breeders from the English countryside, selection was something that was very much intentional. Specific traits were chosen and selected for. It's important to keep in mind that natural selection lacks that directionality. It lacks an intentionality. As illustrated by Darwin, the theory of natural selection involves random change through time. It's not that there's a plan to be elucidated. It's not that there's some preset way in which life is meant to be unfolded, but rather there are natural processes which create random generation, and that certain kinds of variants, simply because of the benefits they provide those individuals, are more likely to be present in subsequent generations. In this context, Darwin was heavily influenced by the work of the population biologist Malthus, who said basically that there are countless numbers of individuals who might be present on the planet, but only a few of those individuals are destined to survive and reproduce. This notion of the imbalance between the amount of variation that's present and actually what will be present in subsequent generations provided Darwin with the fundamental insight that he needed to come up with the idea of natural selection. Not every individual is going to survive and reproduce equally in future generations. Some individuals will be better at this than others, and the traits that determine how much better they are the ones that are more likely to be present in future generations. This was the fundamental insight of natural selection that Darwin developed. Now, interestingly, parallel to Darwin's work, Alfred Russel Wallace, working in Southeast Asia, actually was making many of the same observations. And together, along with other 19th century anatomists and natural historians, it very quickly became clear that Darwin's thinking was correct, that evolution proceeds in the natural world, that the pattern of variation we see in biological forms on the life is a result of long-term pattern change within biological systems, the result of evolutionary change.